evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. It's a crossband repeater and spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That'll take you to our homepage. There you'll find some information about our organization, the frequencies that we transmit on, and also you'll find a link to YouTube where we stream our nets held on Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. Also, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a Cougar Mountain tone of 103.5 for our voice transmissions. Again, this is Dave, KD7CYM. I'll pause in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make a contact on the 08 machine before our net gets fully underway. Hearing none, again, welcome to the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. Again, I'm Dave, KD7CYM. So far checked into the net via video link is Ron, KD7QKU, Bob, K9PQ, Richard, K7ITX, Jim, N7QO, and James, WU7N, and myself, Dave, KD7CYM. Is there anybody else wanting to check into the net this evening? Hearing none, let's get the net rolling. We'll start with Ron, KD7QKU in Tacoma.
Okay, well, good evening. Hello to everyone. KD7QKU here. Well, as I mentioned earlier, what a beautiful day. I spent a big part of the day cleaning out the flower beds. The flower beds are clean, but when we moved here, they were full of these little flowers. They look like tiny onion plants, and they have a little bulb on the end. And it was just, there was thousands of them. I got, buckets full of. I just went through every inch of dirt. Of course, I must have missed some of the little bulbs because they came up this year. They're about the size of the end of your little finger. They're just small things. It's just hard to get them all there. They look like a little rock. Sometimes you'd think it was a bulb and it was a rock, or sometimes you'd think it was a rock and it was a bulb. But anyway, so I went through the east side flower bed and got those out, and then kind of hoed up the ground, and then Joanne was planting some flowers in front along the edge of the walkway, kind of marigolds type flower. So I had put mulch on top of that bed and forgot how rocky it was underneath. Once upon a time, I think somebody put red rock in the flower beds, and then I got bark on top of that and bark on top of that. So when we got here, I had Jose, he does our yard, so I had him dig the beds down. They were higher than the lawn, way higher than the vents in the foundation, and I didn't like that. So I had him dig them down, and then I put from the Cedar River up there, where they take the yard waste and they make it into mulch. It's really nice stuff. So I put that in the beds here. I'm going to have to redo it a little bit. Those guys, when they mow my lawn and everything, they kind of rake all the beds, and they've gradually raked it out, I think. All right, that's enough of that. Back to net, KD7QKU.
QKU. Let's go to Bob, K9PQ in Bothell.
Hey, well, good evening to everybody, and yeah, that sounds like a good activity for such a beautiful day, Ron. Getting out in the garden. I got out a little bit, certainly not to that degree. Mostly I was around the house here, but I did kind of open up the place and get everything aired out, and boy, just a beautiful day. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I have something to show off. I'll do it next time. I don't have it with me. A friend of mine has been getting into hiking and backpacking gear, like very small, lightweight stuff, and he sort of renewed my interest. So I got something I haven't had since I was in Boy Scouts, I think, which is a sparking rod and some fire starter. So I'll see if I can demonstrate that without burning my condo down. I'll do that next time. Back to net, K9PQ.
PQ, thanks for that. Well, let's see if Richard's with us. K7ITX.
Hi, you guys. Well, just audio only, probably tonight for a little while. So yeah, it was a beautiful day out in the backyard, and helped Debbie the YL prune some evergreens that I don't know. I have no idea. It's not a fir tree, pine tree. I don't know, but it's evergreen. It's always got green leaves on it. But it had one odd branch coming out. It kind of reminds me. The thing reminds me of a Japanese, no, vine maple. The way, all kinds of, I don't know, stalks come out of the ground. It doesn't really have a trunk. But anyway, it was bending over real weird. This one branch was bending real weird, and so I got out the pole saw, and she'd never really used that thing before, and so I let her have at it, and it was pretty cool to see her use it and not me. K7ITX, back to net control.
K7ITX. Let's go to Jim in 7QO in Covington.
N7QO. Thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, yard work, flower beds. Man. I didn't do outside work today. I did some stuff inside the house. Mostly, I don't know why, but I had some computer problems here. And then later so it took me a while. It was trying to do an update to Windows and gave me some error messages. And then I was trying to do some diagnostics, and it gave me some error messages. I finally got that all squared away, I believe. But later this afternoon, a cable TV truck came up and pulled by my neighbor's house. So I guess my neighbor was experiencing some problems as well. Not exactly sure what was happening, but things seem to be under control now. Let's see. Yeah, I had this brilliant idea that I would have a low-maintenance yard. So one of the aspects of this house which appealed to my wife and I is that it looked like it was going to be low maintenance. There was hardly any grass, bushes. There was rocks placed on the ground, and it looked like it was going to be fairly low maintenance. Well, I was wrong about that, but it probably was low maintenance for the first 10 years that the house was here. But it requires quite a bit of effort more than I was expecting. But it's different trimming bushes and trimming trees and trying to control both the weeds and the grass and the moss that tend to grow in the rocks that are around the property. So, oh well. But yeah, we certainly had a nice day to do that. Let's see. Bob, hiking, yeah. Yeah, the first summer right after I graduated from high school, a friend and I were on Hudson Bay doing some backpacking, and I don't know, that's the sort of thing I've always had an interest in, but somehow life got in the way. My job mostly got in the way, so I kind of got around not doing that. My wife never had an interest in that, but I still have a backpack around here. It's a bit on the dated side. It needs to be updated, but I'm probably not going to do any backpacking anymore anyway. I hope I can see what's going on with your attempt to start a fire here. My 1.2 gigahertz signal tonight is it's intermittent, and right now it happens to be off. So if I'm lucky, I'll see it, but anyway, I'll look forward to what happens here. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
QO, time for a little ID. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7ZYM. So let's go to James, WW7N in Bellevue.
One has a picture of giant strawberries on the screen. That must be a Bob background. You made me laugh, Jim, when you said low maintenance yard. I think that's like saying click the start button to shut down, or can we be alone together?
Can you mute your TV? It's feeding back through, I think. Mute your computer.
Three or four tries, but I finally got it to mute out. I'm not sure what was going on there. Well, I don't know how much you heard there of that, but I was saying, Jim, you made me laugh with your low maintenance yard. It's like clicking the start button to shut down, or jumbo shrimp, or let's be alone together. There's many words like that. Low maintenance yard, I think, though, is the top of every homeowner's list for a contradiction in terms. I'll go ahead and paste in the comments a huge list called Ethon's Oxymoron page. It's extremely popular, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I hear you. I'm glad to hear that you're up and about and doing stuff, and we're able to join us for whatever time works for you tonight. That's great. Let's see. You were saying, Jim was saying that his neighbor had problems with his internet. My neighbor also had problems today with the telephonic section of Comcast, another oxymoron. There you got a cable company that was designed to, bring you your quality image and voice propaganda into your home, and they went into the phone business, and then they discovered that all the problems that the phone company had solved over the last 40 years, they had to solve them all over again. So not surprising to me that it's not the first time I've heard of this, that someone who has a Comcast phone was having problems, but the especially irritating one for her, she's trying to run a business, and when you would call in, her phone would never ring, it would just go to voicemail. Well, bonus points that it went to voicemail and instead of saying it was disconnected or some such. Today was a great day, obviously, beautiful weather. I guess we are now officially done with rain until September. So I got out and did a walk and some errands and some other things out in the beautiful sunshine. and but still took vitamin D today. So I don't know, maybe I can store it up for the summer, for the long winter. Anyway, good day today. Got a lot done, and certainly enjoying the weather. Not too hot, not too cold. Pretty perfect for doing just about anything. Okay, the last oxymoron: a catfish. Doesn't that sound like a contradiction in terms? A catfish. Anyway, this is James, WW7N. Let's turn it back to Dave, our net control for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. This is WW7N in Northeast Bellevue.
WW7N, thanks for that. This is Dave, KD7ZYM in Lake City. Oh, what a gorgeous day. I got out, did some yard work, got the weed whacker. I had one flower bed that was probably about 4 feet by 20 feet that had overgrown, and boy, I tell you, all kinds of weeds and all kinds of things were growing up about 2 feet tall. Got out the weed whacker and just trimmed it down to the ground, so I think I've alleviated that problem from now. So now I'll just have to turn over the dirt and maybe plant some plants in there. But outside of that, I've been doing domestic chores today. Did get out to do some errands, and I did have some fun this afternoon. I had gone to Costco earlier in the week, and I got their stuffed green peppers that are in a package of 6, and what you have to do is put them in your oven for an hour at 400 degrees and cook them out. I've got them in the past, but then I was kind of disappointed in the past. There was about a 60% rice mixture with the hamburger meat inside the bell peppers. But this time, it was about 90% hamburger and about 10% rice, so it was very good and well seasoned and cooked up very good. I had a couple of those today. And I've got 67 degrees out, and it's clear so far this evening. So that's about all I've got to add. So with that, we can go back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
Thank you, KD7QKU here again. Well, I guess, the last couple of nights I've been sick with sore throat. I guess I had it Saturday night. I can't remember if I had it before that or not. So, when Armando came over to fix he put a drain underneath the sidewalk and rotor hammered a hole in the curb to drain this kind of a ditch between the lawn and the tree berm where I had these little evergreen trees put in. So anyway, when he was here, his brother, when they got done, Joanne invited him up on the patio for ice cream and cookies. So I'm sitting across the table from his brother, and I looked at him, and he didn't look good. I said, are you not feeling good? And he says, oh, I'm really sick. I got this terrible cold and stuff. Oh, my goodness. I wouldn't have invited him in if I'd have known that. So, I got it, of course. Well, I must have given it to my brother-in-law because yesterday there was some text back and forth about what we were going to do for Mother's Day. Well, Mike had invited us out to his house, so we're going out there for Mother's Day. But anyway, Phyllis said that Doug had a temperature and was sick in bed. So he got what I got, I guess. Or I gave it to him. I'm not sure how that worked, but I probably gave it to him. So I had tested for COVID, and I noticed that the little test unit didn't have any marks on it. So I assumed that I didn't have COVID. So then I decided to do it again, I guess, Monday. And it did the same thing. Well, I read a little further in the instructions, and it said if you don't get any lines, the test isn't any good. And so then I looked at the box, and it was over a year old. In fact, we had 2 or 3 more, and they were all over a year old. So then I called Walgreens drugstore and asked them if they had them. They said, yep. I said, can I get some? They said, yep. So I gave them my Medicare number and went over, and they gave me 4 test kits in a paper sack. I came home and tested myself, and I tested negative. So I at least didn't have it on Tuesday. Whether I had it before that or not, I don't know. But so I'm good to go, I guess. And today I'm still a little sore on the side of the neck and kind of this ear. Of course, this ear is plugged up all the time, more or less. Anyway, and then kind of in my head, I kind of ache. I don't know if you call it ache, but it's just kind of in that side of my head still. And so I was out there. I used a big old butcher knife to dig those plants out of the ground, and I had to eat some pickles because I was getting cramps in my hand. You know, my right hand from holding the knife. You know, my fingers were all, you know. So I had to eat some pickles. So now I'm doing pretty good. Let me let her drop. Big news is here. You know, we switched from CenturyLink, I guess it was, to this Rainier Connect, and it's a streaming service for cable, and we got the internet and the phone. Well, wouldn't you know, the phone quit. So Joanne told me, oh, did I tell you the phone wasn't working yesterday? So I called them yesterday in the morning, and of course, nice lady answered and told her my phone wasn't working, and she said, okay, well, I'll have you talk to a technician for a minute. So I talked to a technician, and he had me do a few things. But on the modem, the little telephone receiver was blinking. So he said, okay, we're going to have to send the guy out. I guess he had me unplug it and do a few things, and it didn't solve anything. So he said, okay, I'll send the guy out. So the guy came out right away, a really nice guy, and he came in and said, yep, your phone's not working. So he goes out and he pulls the box apart on the side of the house, and he says, oh, I see the problem already. You do? Yeah. He said, the CenturyLink phone line is still hooked up. I wonder why the guy didn't disconnect it. I said, I don't know. I said, the phone wasn't working. You know, it hadn't worked for almost 2 weeks. That's why we ordered. Oh, he said, that's right. So the guy's name was Bailey that came last time. He said, Bailey must have tested it and it was dead, so he didn't bother to, you know, clip it off or anything. So he undone the screws and taken the wires loose and twisted them, cut them off and twisted them together. And so we went in, reset the modem, went in and picked everything up, worked fine. So then the guy stayed here for a few minutes, so I kept picking his brain. He was in the van, he must have been writing up the order, so let me let it drop again. I'd run out and ask him a question, and then he came in a couple of times, and then I asked him, there's on the TV streaming, there's no favorites, so you can't save things into favorites. So it has a guide of about 200 channels, and wouldn't you know, one of the ones I want is 800 and something, and you know, channel 4 is channel 4, you know. And so you got to run all the way down to 800 and something to look at this, then you got to run all the way back up. And I said, that's the only problem I have. Oh, he said, there's kind of a simple solution to that. So he showed me, did you ever notice it has this place of the last channels that you've looked at, about a dozen of them? He said, it's not really favorites, but it's the last channels. So, you know, so there is your 812 channel right there. So all you have to do is just, you know, go over there and click on it, and you got it. You don't have to run down 800 channels to find it, so numbers to find it. So that was the best thing he told me all day. So I was happy camper. All right, back to net 87 QKU.
QKU, thanks for that. And ID time again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. On the 08 machine, I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Well, let's go to Bob, K9PQ in Bottle.
So, a little mad scientist action here. I am going to have to put the mic down while I do this, so I will not be narrating, but the first thing I'm going to do is do a few sparks, and then I will show you, well, I guess I can show you this. This is a little pink sort of plug cylinder, and it's called a fire plug. That's the brand name. And what it is it's wax and a sort of a cotton So when I put the mic down, I'll break it apart so you can see, and that's how you're supposed to light it. You break it apart so it exposes those cotton fibers, but it's all impregnated with wax, and it's really a fantastic fire starter. I am not going to light this in here, but I'll just show you what it looks like, and then I'll do a few sparks. I noticed it didn't focus on this plug very well. Let's see if I can get it to focus on it. It wants to focus on my shirt instead. Oh well. But you can kind of see how by bending it, it loosened up that what was a kind of a hard cylinder with the wax and cotton mixture, and got these cotton fibers to come out. And tell you what, they light super easy, and it burns a long time, and it's a great little fire starter called Fire Plugs. And I guess I have to mention I am not being paid anything to endorse this product. Okay, back to that, K9PQ.
PQ, thanks for that demonstration, Bob. Let's go to Richard, K7ITX.
Bob, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I used to do a lot of backpacking, and that would have been pretty nice to have. Except, I don't know, I mean, I guess that's if you don't have a little butane canister and a little stove. That's what I would always have to get a flame going now. Normally where I would hike, you weren't allowed to have it, it'd be in the summertime, you're not allowed to have an open fire anyway, but still, starting a fire like what you showed us is pretty nice. And, let's see, Ron, yeah, this, click cable, no, it's not click. Oh, crumb. I think that's the old people. But anyway, I'm pretty happy for you. It sounds like it's your cup of tea, exactly. I mean, you don't have to talk to someone overseas on the phone. When you call them, they answer the phone right away, and they come right out. And then when they come right out, not only do they fix the original problem on the work order, they do a lot of extra stuff that's not on the work order. So, oh my goodness, that's perfect. That is perfect. Now, hopefully, you're saving a little bit of money, but even if you weren't, and you were paying exactly what Comcast would charge, it sounds like a bargain anyway, just because of the premium service you're getting. So that's fantastic, if you ask me. I was kind of hoping Lee would be here, not that he could shed any light on the fire at the Hurricane Ridge Visitor Center, but I would expect he definitely would have had a comment on it, and he might have maybe had an inside scoop on what's going on up there. It's just a terrible, terrible fire. I think I've only been there once. Kind of, I would call that lodge, just from my one experience, to be kind of similar, on par with the Sunrise Lodge for Mount Rainier. It's except Sunrise Lodge has this beautiful Mount Rainier. It's just like, in your lap, pretty much, the view. Hurricane Ridge is the lodge there. At Hurricane Ridge is kind of like the Mount Rainier for the Olympic Peninsula. And let's see, Covington Gym. Oh yes, I know all about these low maintenance yards and things. I used to think I had one, and boy, was I wrong. I mean, now it's mostly grass, so now that it's been all changed out and resodded, and I didn't do any of that. Of course, I spent the money for it, but now just with a brand new self-propelled electric lawnmower, cutting the grass for even someone like me is pretty darn simple, and it's actually it's a good exercise, something that doesn't hurt me anyway. So anyway, that's all I know. K7ITX, back to net control.
7ITX, Richard, thanks for that. And it's time for an ID again. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Well, let's go to Jim, N7QO in Covington.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Jim, thanks for the oxymorons, but I don't have, I can't see any of the text messages now. And as a matter of fact, my 1.2 gigahertz was off from my last transmission until Dick started to speak. But then it went intermittent, and now it's completely off again. So, question, Jim, how's the 1.2 working for you? And let's see. Ron, yeah, COVID at-home tests. I think that's what they call the antigen test. I'm skeptical of those. I took a test, and actually I took a couple, and they said that I was okay, no COVID, but then I went into a Band-Aid clinic, and they said, yep, you got it. And I heard of other people having a similar experience, so I don't know what to say about that. I think maybe they'll detect some strains, but not other strains. Don't know for sure what's going on. But I know there are other things going around too, other than just COVID. Heck, just the normal cold or flu. In fact, when I went to the Band-Aid clinic, they also did some sort of flu test on me. So they said I didn't have the flu, but I had COVID. Oh well. And Ron, Roger, about your phone problems. Just curious. You said that the technician's name was Mr. Bailey. Just curious, was Mr. Bailey's first name Beetle? Just a question there. Bob, I couldn't see what you were doing, but it sounded like a pretty good description. I used to carry something similar to that. They were like wood strips, about 3 inches long strips, and maybe a 1/4 inch square of it. Looked like wax and some sort of splinters or wood shavings combined. And they worked well, and they lasted a long time, but they were just way too heavy to backpack more than a few of them. So yeah, I tried cotton and stuff like that. I had a little spark thing where you run your knife blade across it and it showers some sparks. And then I had a lighter way back when. It actually was a lighter with lighter fluid. So I carried a little lighter fluid with me as well, and that worked. For cooking, I used sterno cans. I haven't thought about that for a couple of decades, but the sterno cans worked okay. I had a little stove, little frame in which you could put the sterno can and set something on top of it. Worked okay, but more heavy than I would have liked. At least now they've got some decent stuff. Let me reset. Oh, yeah. Dick, Hurricane Ridge. Yeah, I'd be curious about that as well. Boy, that's got to be sort of a landmark that's now gone. That's terrible. And for that matter, talking about fires, Dave, I understand there was some old abandoned building in Lake City that burned down, or at least burned substantially last night during the night. Wonder if you know anything about that. Oh, low maintenance yard. Okay. When I was in Phoenix, they had what I would call low maintenance yards. Houses that had sand, no grass. They had sand and cactus, and it almost never rained, so you didn't have to worry about anything growing there. Just make sure you don't water it. But it seems a little extreme for me to move to Phoenix just to get a low maintenance yard. Maybe the answer is AstroTurf, but on the other hand, A, it's expensive, and B, I would bet eventually some real grass or weeds or moss or something would be growing on the darn AstroTurf. So I abandoned the idea of doing AstroTurf, but if anyone has any ideas, it sounds like no one does, but if anyone else has any ideas, I'd be glad to listen to them. Back to you, Dave, and yeah, Jim, once again, is your 1.2 working okay? Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
QO, let's go to James in Bellevue, WU7N.
First question, yeah, my 1.2 is working with about a half-second delay off the digital input, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Ron, your story about channel 812 made me laugh. I would have thought that their remote control or something would have some way to just poke in 812 enter. But if you do complain about that, you know, the next day you'll find it's 1,812. And if that doesn't work, well, you get the idea, so nobody complains about it. Let's see, Bob, that was an interesting demo with it reminds me of another device. I think they kind of took that from a military device, the way that it's sealed and impregnated in plastic, and you break it open and it gets all fuzzy, and the wax is available to the fuel there. Looks like it would work. I always was looking for two things as a kid. Jack London's famous story, to build a fire. I was saying, okay, how can you build a fire without your hands and get something lit? And the second thing, I did all kinds of things to get matches waterproof. Never really came up with a successful formula. A Green Beret instructor showed me big lighters and how you could, you know, sink them in a submarine and pull them out again, and they still would light. So I said, well, okay, that's pretty waterproof. I don't think you can beat that. And also fairly windproof, too. And Jim, yeah, Sterno, I remember that. I still have a Sterno stove as a kid. This thing, I think, is built out of recycled, you know, Ford engines or something. It's this big, heavy metallic thing that folds flat, and you fold it up into a box, and it acts as both a windscreen for the sterno, and then you put a pot on top of it. So yeah, that made me smile. It's still, I think, somewhere upstairs. I'll have to find that now. I found, I'm not sure I can give this credit, but I'm not the videographer, but there's a video which is stopping and starting because this computer just doesn't handle it that much, but it can't handle this much CPU load. But this is a Hurricane Day Lodge in Olympic Park after the fact. Apparently it was under renovation at the time. So the reason it's stopping and starting is my poor little computer just can't keep up with it. It's pretty totaled, and they're going to have to start over from ground zero, but looks like the stair survived, and that was about it. So anyway, let's see, what else was there? I'm glad you're feeling better, and I'm glad the test didn't work. No, the test worked, but said you were negative. I guess that's what you have to say. Another oxymoron. You're happy when the test is negative. Anyway. Okay, so I guess I'm going to stop the share on this because it doesn't look like my little CPU can handle this. Ooh, it looks like there's some there the firemen haven't even put out yet. And that used to be a door frame. So as soon as I see that come through the 1.2, I'll turn it off. Credit goes to Seattle Times, but I'm not sure where they got the video now. That's one of the problems when you show videos these days. I always try and give proper credit, but it's kind of hard to do. This is James, WW7ATS in Northeast Seattle. Let's turn it back to Dave, our net control.
WW7N, thanks for that. Oh my, I was thinking about yard work, and I remember many years ago I covered a story up in the central area. A gentleman had taken indoor-outdoor carpet that was green, and then that was placed on his yard. And this was the time when all of a sudden these plastic flowers and ferns and everything else was coming out. So his flower beds were filled up with all of these artificial flowers and ferns. It was really an interesting and colorful project that the guy had put together. But as he said, I don't have to water it and I don't have to mow it, so that was kind of interesting. And then getting back to Bob, back when dirt was discovered when I was hiking, we'd take a milkshake, not a milkshake, an egg carton, and in one of the sections we fill it up with about 3/4 of sawdust, and then take candle wax and melt that over the top of the sawdust, and then cut out on the cardboard and use that as fire starters when I was hiking back when dirt was discovered. So anyway, that worked quite well. The paper caught fire good, and all of a sudden the wax caught good, and then the little wood fibers of sawdust really ignited, so that was kind of good. And fires in Lake City, I guess that's just part of urban renewal going on all the time around the area in Seattle. So anyway, it was a boarded up building that hadn't been used for years. So anyway, it looks like it will be removed now and make room for something else in Lake City. As I said, this is part of the urban renewal project. And this is Dave, KD7CYM in Lake City. So I'll send it back up to Ron, KD7QKU.
Thank you, Dave. KD7QKU here. Well, fire starter. I bought some stuff at REI. It was called Fire Ribbon. It's in like a toothpaste tube, and you squirt out a piece about an inch long, and it's kind of like sterno, and then you can light it and it'll burn, and the wind won't put it out or anything, really, and rain will hardly put it out. So I always carried a tube of that, and my friend always carried a Bic, lighter. I always carried matches. I managed to get it. And I had a couple of dry containers that I had matches in, and I matches. Always I made those work. And Jim, N7QO, So a low maintenance yard, you know, you have to have a lot of weed killer. You know, a backpack tank full of weed killer, and you just go around and spray everything in the yard early in the spring. My son was telling me that he has gravel in his driveway, and he said it was beginning to look green, so he was going to spray it with weed killer. He doesn't want to lose the gravel. You know, the grass will grow in the gravel, and pretty soon you just have grass again. He said it's too expensive to put the gravel in. So he has a backpack that he puts weed killer in and can do his whole driveway. That lodge up there at Hurricane Ridge, in my opinion, it was a pretty new lodge. It was, as you notice, all metal frame and the metal roofing and everything. And it was basically 2 stories. It was a nice lodge. They said they had to do some remodeling on it, but I don't know what they were going to do. Maybe make it bigger. But it had, you know, had everything in it. Nice place. You talked about AstroTurf. So there is one house, when I walk around, believe it or not, it has some AstroTurf in the front yard. But he just must have laid it over weeds and everything else, because there's a lot of lumps in it. They didn't, you know, landscape the yard or anything before they laid it in. It looks like they just bought green Astro carpet and just unrolled it over everything. So I don't know what was there before he put the AstroTurf over it, but he doesn't have a very good yard, really. But he thinks he does, I guess. And let's see. Oh, I see where Bert, you know, we get that newsletter from the gym down there in Colorado, and Bert apparently had brought his attention to the frequency allocation that we might lose. So I noticed that in the last newsletter. And what else have I got down here? I guess that's about it. Talked about AstroTurf and fire ribbon, weed killer. Yeah, homeowner's best friend, weed killer. Okay, back to net, KD7QK.
KU, let's go to Bob, K9PQ. K9PQ, we're not getting any audio from you.
Man, oh man. I completely forgot to get on the mic. Thank you. Yeah, so I was saying the pickles, I think the thing with pickles and cramps, I think it's the salt that's naturally added to in the pickling process that helps relieve the cramps. That fire at Hurricane Ridge is really just terrible. I had not heard about it, and it's just a shame. I hope they get it rebuilt really soon. So my thing, the flint and steel that I have, they call that steel a ferro rod, and ferro meaning, you know, iron. So I'm not sure. I think the flint is sort of mixed in with iron, maybe somehow, so it's not just flint. But that's the name they call it, a ferro rod. And yeah, as far as the sterno, yeah, we used to use sterno as well, and these days they have solid discs that you can get, or solid. In one of them, there's little solid squares, and the little white solid fuel tablets, I guess you could call them. And so, you know, if you want like a real cook stove with gas or propane or something like that, yeah, this would not do it. But for like just an emergency kit, it's a fantastic thing for emergency kit, because it's the fuel is going to last a long time. It's not going to pollute anything. It burns clean, and it's dirt simple. Speaking of dirt, it is dirt simple. So yeah, back in our Boy Scout days, you did remind me, Dave, of the cardboard sort of cardboard. It seemed to be kind of like a cat food tin, but made of cardboard, and then we put the wax and the wood shavings in. I remember that we did the same thing for homemade fire starters. Also, lint was a popular option for fire starters. Oh, and I'm going to try and do a better job showing this on the camera using the technique that James showed me to help it focus. So I'm going to drop the mic for a bit. Hard to tell on the monitor. I hope that focus worked. So that's what that broken apart fire starter little pellet thing looks like. And let's see. Oh yeah, the thing about Bert, I read that as well. That's pretty cool that he gave Bert acknowledgement on that in his newsletter. And yeah, I just, you know, we're going to have to just follow that. It's really hard to know what's going to happen there. And finally, yeah, so this whole ferro rod thing, kind of did it for the fun of it, frankly. It wasn't terribly expensive. I definitely go with lighters. The old Bic lighters, you know, have multiple Bic lighters. If one doesn't work, another one will. And so that's my go-to normally. And just finally, yeah, the whole Lake City thing, Dave, I know about that. It was like that in Chicago, too. There would be old buildings and, you know, nothing would happen for who knows what reason, but nobody would do anything with it. It would just sit until there was some fire, and then next thing you know, there's new construction. So, all right, with that, I'll send it back, K9TQ.
TQ. Let's go to Kent to Richard, K7ATS.
Right, well, I'm sure enjoyed talking to you guys tonight. It's been a lot of fun. I guess we just need to kind of get ready for some really warm weather. Yeah, 90 degrees this early in May. I guess that might be a record for this region to have 90 this early. I guess we're gonna maybe have to expect maybe some more records this summer with the warm temperatures. I'm still extremely satisfied that we installed a central air conditioning system last year, just in a nick of time. You know, it's like the week after the 4th of July, and then boom, the hot weather hit, and we were ready. But boy, that's, you know, talking about the air conditioner, I think I need to go get the air filter replaced. That was one thing they told me to do, is be sure and change it every year. So that 1 year is just about up. So, all right, you guys, thanks a lot. Nice talking to you, and everybody have a nice week, and we'll see how it goes till Saturday. K7ITX, back to net control.
7ITX, Richard, thanks for joining the net. Let's go on to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Dick, yeah, good call on the air conditioning. It does seem to me that the summers have been a little bit warmer here the last couple of years. I don't know, it looks like that might persist. There are already forest fires in Edmonton. Well, was it Edmonton? I don't know. Alberta. Anyway, somewhere up in Canada, they're going already. So good call on the air. Let's see, Jim. It sounds like you've got the same sort of Sterno stove that I've got. Not too long after I did my backpacking trip, they invented some other stoves, some better stoves that are easy to carry. Little tiny things, basically like the size of a soup can, that that burn either alcohol or some similar liquid fuel, and those can really pump out the heat. But unfortunately, I did not have anything like that when I was doing my hiking days. Oh, matches. Yeah, I always carried some matches as well, wooden stick matches, and I had 2 waterproof containers. They were metal. Each of them would hold, oh, I don't remember exactly, maybe 10 or 12 matches. So that was good. And I've also seen those wooden matches sold in a waterproof version. It's like the tip was dipped in something, and you had to scrape it just a little bit before the thing would light. But they worked, I guess. I don't know. I have mixed emotions about matches, but I always carried some as a sort of a backup. And those little tablets, yeah, those came out sometime afterwards as well, I remember. And I thought, wow, that is really cool. But I never did get any of those. I never tried those. I don't know. I guess I probably should abandon my wishes for a low-maintenance yard. Anyway, thanks for participating, everyone. Good night, all. Back to Dave, N7QO.
QO, let's go to Bellevue to James, WU7N.
James, WU7ATS, Northeast Bellevue. Yes, Bob, just because I never discovered the secret formula when I was 10 years old, no, someone else did. The Cohogan's waterproof matches do work very well. They are safety matches, I think. They used to sell a version that was a Strike Anywhere, but I have been told Strike Anywheres are getting increasingly difficult to find because vibration can set them off, and nobody wants to ship them. Which is a problem with my great ideas to come up with a way to, to solve Jack London's problem to build a fire. If you have something that you can throw on the ground on top of a pile of wood and smash with your foot because your hands are too frozen to handle matches, then that could rattle around in your backpack and create way too much excitement. So those experiments were terminated by the chief chemical safety officer in my household, which of course was my mom, who was a scientist who had lots of lab experience, and enough experience by the time I came along with kids to know when to say, no, let's do something else. So anyway, that's why I'm alive today. I'm glad she was my mom, given what I had access to. Well, with a couple of minutes left, let's give it back to Dave and see if we can maybe make one more quick round trip for the Western Washington Amateur Television Society. This is James, WU7N, Northeast Bellevue.
7N, this is Dave, KD7CYM. Well, we're mentioning fires and all kinds of things like that. It reminded me back when I think I was a toddler. I remember my parents were working on the railroad in the commissary division, and one of the railroad workers came up on the 4th of July and had firecrackers for me. And I said, wow, what is this? And I said, the only thing I could think of in my mind is, what do firecrackers taste like? Are they hot and spicy? But then he demonstrated they go boom, and I was very disappointed because I was looking forward to having something tasty to eat. But that was my introduction to firecrackers. So with that, I'll move it back up to Ron for a final. KD7QKU.
I'm still laughing, firecrackers. Yeah, I never thought of them in that respect before. So we had a lot of stoves. My father-in-law had been a hiker, and he had a kerosene stove, and then he had a Prima stove. We had a bunch of Prima stoves. I didn't have much luck with them because it seemed to me like whenever I was out, it was cold, real cold. So right after I messed around with them, I put a pump in one of them, and then I went to Mountain Research, and I bought their stove. Their stove would burn anything, and it had a pump on it. You pump that baby up, you open the valve, and put a match over there, and you had a flame, like a Coleman camp stove. except it was small. So that was mine. All right, back to net KD7QKU.
7QKU. Well, we've run out of time for the net this evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. I'd like to thank SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 for our voice transmissions. So on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave, KD7CYM, signing off the net at 9 o'clock. Good evening all.